Over the years, WWE Games have provided fans with countless hours of entertainment mirroring the high energy and drama of the actual WWE universe. But as with any long-running video game series, not every iteration hits the mark. Today we're going to explore a less than celebrated aspect of WWE Games, the times where they took a step back rather than forward. From graphics to gameplay, we've seen moments where the next installment didn't quite live up to its predecessor, leaving fans both surprised and disappointed. In this video, we'll walk through 10 instances where WWE Games experienced clear downgrades. These aren't just minor glitches or subjective opinions, but noticeable changes that impacted how players experience the game. Whether it was a reduction in visual qualities, less immersive gameplay, or the removal of beloved features, each of these instances represents a moment where the game could have been so much more. Join us now as we look at 10 times WWE Games were clearly downgraded. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when we upload a video. Number 1. Visual downgrade WWE 2K15 onwards. Remember when WWE 2K15 first showed up on the Xbox One and PS4? It was like stepping into a whole new world of wrestling games. The graphics were spot on, and they still hold up today, which is saying something. But then something weird happened. As each new WWE 2K game dropped, it was like they were slowly backing away from the initial wow factor. By the time WWE 2K20 came around, it felt like we'd time travel back to the PS3 era, and not in a cool retro way. I mean, we were in the age of mid-generation upgrades of the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, but you wouldn't know it from looking at 2K20. Watching the graphics quality slip like that was kind of a letdown. We'd all been wowed by what 2K15 had dished out, then only to see 2K20 looking like this. It left a lot of us scratching our heads. Number 2. Redness of chest, SmackDown vs. Raw 2010 and 11 deleted in WWE 12. And back in SVR 2010 and 2011, there was a really cool idea where the wrestlers' chests would get red after you kept chopping at them. It was a small thing, but it made the matches feel way more real, like you could actually see the match taking its toll on the guys in the ring. But then out of nowhere, WWE 12 decided to ditch this feature. Seriously, they just axed it, and with that, a chunk of the game's realism went out of the window. This was a strange choice when WWE 12 was trying to up the ante on realism with new presentation elements added to the game. Dropping this detail was a real bummer for many of us who dig the little things that made wrestling games feel so close to what we see on television, and it's a shame that the feature hasn't made a return to games since being dropped from WWE 12. Number 3. Bruising in matches, WWE 2K19 versus current games. WWE 2K19 really nailed it with its bruising effects. It was pretty cool how you could see the wrestlers getting more and more banged up as the match went on. You could almost feel the impact of every punch just by looking at the wrestlers. This kind of attention to detail added a whole new level of depth in the game, making those long, grueling matches actually get represented through facial damage. But fast forward to games like 2K23, and it's like they've hit the brakes on that feature. The bruising and wear just don't pop like they used to. It's a bit of a letdown really. When you compare it to the visual storytelling in 2K19, every match felt like a battle with visible scars to prove it. Those little details of bruising and damage, they did more than just add to the look of the game, they brought the matches to life. So it was a shame to see this aspect toned down in the latest releases. Number 4. Just Bring It's visual compared to the intro. WWE SmackDown Just Bring It was the franchise's debut on the PS2, and it came with an intro that promised a next-gen experience. The CGI intro looked phenomenal, setting high expectations for the game's visuals. However, the in-game graphics were a letdown, failing to live up to the intro's promise. The actual game graphics looked underwhelming for a PS2 title, especially when compared to later releases like SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, which significantly improved in visual quality. This disparity between the intro and actual gameplay in Just Bring It was a classic case of misleading presentation. Fans who were baited by the stunning CGI intro were met with a stark contrast in the game, highlighting a missed opportunity to the match's intro's visual quality. Number 5. Visual downgrade after SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. SmackDown vs. Raw 07's debut on the Xbox 360 was a graphical marvel, delivering an astonishing upgrade in visuals that still hold up today. This title set a new standard for wrestling game graphics, but this high was not to be sustained. By WWE 12, the visuals had taken a significant nosedive, looking dated compared to the much older SmackDown vs. Raw 07. The graphical fidelity, which had been a strong point, started to lag behind, failing to keep pace with advancing gaming technology. The visual regression was a letdown for fans who had seen the potential in SmackDown vs. Raw 07. The series seemed to have peaked too early in terms of graphics, and the subsequent title struggled to maintain, let alone surpass, the high bar set by the game. Number 6. Weapons Physics Downgraded in WWE 12. Remember how the SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 totally upped the game with its weapons physics? The way those ladders bent and tables shattered felt so real. It wasn't just cool to look at, it made every match with weapons a wild ride. You never know what was going to happen next. A ladder match was a legit ladder match with all the chaos and unpredictability you'd expect from TV. The realism in how these objects interact with the wrestlers in the ring added a whole new layer of excitement to the gameplay. But then came WWE 12, and it was like taking 2 steps back. Suddenly the weapon physics that we all loved got a bit wonky. Ladders and tables didn't break or react like they used to, the collisions were off, sometimes even glitchy, which was a complete letdown after the high bar set by the previous game. This shift was more than just a minor tweak, it was a significant change that affected how fun these matches were. When you're used to the thrill of perfectly timed table breaks, ladder falls, and the collision when landing on weapons, having that replaced with something less refined, it really takes away from the experience. SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 had nailed it, grading these awesome edge-of-your-seat moments with every weapon interaction. So when WWE 12 dialed down on this aspect, it was a real disappointment for fans. Matches that used to be highlight reels of destruction and mayhem just didn't carry the same punch. It was a shame to see, and even years later, we still have not seen weapon physics on the same level as that game. Number 7. Ringside Area after WWE 2K14. WWE 2K14's ringside area was a highlight, offering interactive elements like ring bells and title belts to use against your opponent. Not only that, but the ability to climb announcers' tables. However, WWE 2K15 saw a downgrade in this area. The absence of the ring bell and title belt at ringside, along with the removal of the option to climb the announcers' tables, reduced the interactivity possible and overall excitement of the ringside area. This change in 2K15 stripped away layers of gameplay options and realism. The ringside area in WWE games has always been a space for creative and unexpected moments, and the reduction of these elements in WWE 2K15 was a huge step back from the immersive and varied combat options players had enjoyed previously. Number 8. Breakouts in Raw 2 pre-rendered cutscene instead of in-game. Raw 1 for the original Xbox featured entrance breakouts that occurred in-game, adding an element of unpredictability and realism to the matches. These breakouts could be reversed and the action would start exactly where the attack happened. However, in Raw 2, breakouts were reduced to pre-rendered cutscenes, removing the player's ability to influence the outcome. This change meant that every breakout played out the same way and players would warp into the ring afterward, a clear downgrade for the dynamic breakouts of Raw 1. This change in Raw 2 took away the layer of player engagement and realism. Entrance breakouts in Raw 1 were a unique feature that added depth to the gameplay, making each match feel different. The shift to pre-rendered cutscenes in Raw 2 was a clear downgrade when compared to the original Raw game on Xbox. Number 9. Post-match Inferno reactions. Fire to no fire. Inferno matches in WWE games used to end with the losing wrestler being set on fire, a dramatic and fitting conclusion given the match type. However, from WWE 13 onwards, this was changed to a censored version where wrestlers would act as if they were on fire without any visible flames. This change removed a visually impactful and appropriate scene for the match type element from Inferno matches. The removal of this feature was a notable downgrade in terms of match presentation. The visual of a wrestler being set ablaze was a key aspect of the Inferno match's appeal, adding a sense of danger and excitement. The censored version in newer games lacked this impact, making the conclusion of Inferno matches less dramatic and less brutal looking. Remember, this is an Inferno match, and setting people on fire is the actual goal. It's like having a Royal Rumble match with pinfalls. And number 10, WWE 2K17 My Career Mode. 2K16's My Career Mode was a step up from its predecessor, offering more storylines and more of a set path on what to do in the game, as well as a game not ending when you win the WWE title, which is still a ridiculous decision to this day. It set a new standard for the series, but this progress was undone in 2K17. The My Career Mode in 2K17 was a significant downgrade with more grind, lackluster storylines, and an overall less enjoyable experience. Additionally, the absence of voiceovers for the player's created character made the mode feel less personalized and immersive. The changes in 2K17's My Career Mode were a step back for the franchise. The mode felt rushed and lacked the depth and polish of 2K16's My Career. The regression was disappointing for players who had seen the potential for a compelling career mode in the previous installment, only to be met with a less than satisfying experience in 2K17. But there you have it folks, 10 times WWE games were clearly downgraded. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling video game content.